Wow. The DA in New Mexico is going to charge Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the fatal shooting on the Rust set. A lot of people thought this had just gone away, especially because Halyna Hutchins' widower, Matthew, settled with Alec Baldwin.
The wrongful death lawsuit.
Settled the wrongful death lawsuit, not just settled it, but became a co-executive producer to finish the film. And now Alec Baldwin is going to be charged with a felony. And this is really stunning. And there are some really interesting twists that we're going to get into here that involve not just what happened on the set, but possibly Alec Baldwin's own interviews that he did after the shooting.
Might come back to bite him once this trial begins. But first, here is the Santa Fe County DA, Mary Carmack Altweiss, talking about why they charged Alec with involuntary manslaughter.
And is Baldwin being charged as an actor who was holding the gun or as a producer on the set who was negligent about the safety standards? Can you help describe that?
He's being charged as both. He was the actor that pulled the trigger, so certainly he's charged as an actor. But also as a producer, he also had a duty to make sure that the set was safe. And we know from our investigation that there had been accidental misfires prior to this, that there were people that were complaining about safety on set. And so he should have been aware that safety was an issue on set, and then as an actor that day, he should have checked that gun, checked those projectiles.
I got to tell you something. That is stunning to me, because I thought when we put this story up on the website, as soon as we got the information that he was going to be charged, I assumed it was because he was an executive producer. I think the fact that she is saying that an actor as well has that responsibility.
And we'd heard that debate a lot after this tragedy, where different actors were saying
and this
what
could
they did.
settle the debate. Because if actors think they are now on the line, I can't imagine any actor that doesn't check the chamber and everything else.
And Alec Baldwin had said that he never did on any of the movies that he did. And there are other actors who came out and said they did. But you're right. That point about him pulling the trigger, which another thing he denied, he'd said that,
on camera.
On camera said, I did not pull that trigger.
The DA begs to differ on that.
And so did the FBI even before that. So joining us now to talk about this huge development in this case and what happens going forward, a former federal prosecutor, Nima Rahmani. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Nima, what's your reaction to to the DA charging Alec Baldwin?
I'm stunned. We thought this may happen because the DA had gone to this New Mexico legislature to ask for additional funding for a prosecutor and PR person. You don't ask for a PR person if you're going to just charge Halyna Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, or Dave Hall. So we thought this may happen. But to get these charges, particularly the firearm enhancement, Alec Baldwin is looking at a mandatory 5-year sentence in New Mexico State Prison.
So help me out here, because there are a couple of things that are really interesting. And I want to show you something. This is what Brian Panish, the lawyer for Matthew Hutchins, who is the widower of Halyna, this is what he said this morning. He gave us this statement.
Yeah, he said, our independent investigation also supports charges are warranted. It is comfort to the family in New Mexico. No one is above the law. We support the charges.
Doesn't that seem odd to you that they settled this and he actually came on board as a co-executive producer, and now it feels like this whole thing is blown up?
Well, Matthew was on board with the civil settlement. Obviously, he was a co-executive producer. He had a piece of Rust. We'll see if the movie even happens now that criminal charges have been filed. I don't think so, but I think if I'm the defense, I call Matt Hutchins to the stand and I play his statement where he says this was an accident. I don't believe criminal charges are appropriate. I think he's going to be defense witness A, and Dave Halls, of course, will be defense witness B. He's the one that told Baldwin that this was a cold gun, and he's the one who got a slap on the wrist, a probation deal. He's arguably more culpable, and you're trying to pin this on Baldwin, who of the three, Gutierrez-Reed, Halls, is probably the least culpable.
Speaking of statements,
we should say, by the way, that, that Hall cut a deal.
Dave Halls struck a plea deal and is basically getting 6 months of probation. And Halyna Gutierrez-Reed, the lead armorer, she's also facing the same involuntary manslaughter charges that Alec Baldwin is. Speaking of statements, Nima, Alec Baldwin's interviews that he did, and also a podcast he did where he talked about this, about his side of this, about everything that happened. We were shocked when he did it. Is that going to come back now to hurt him, to bite him in the ass once the trial starts?
I think so. Sitting down with police officers for that interrogation, that was a mistake. And that interview, the ABC interview with Alex Stephanopoulos, was also a mistake. That's not what you do. So I don't know if Baldwin was following his PR team and not his lawyers, who I also know, but that's a big mistake and probably one of the reasons that he was charged in this case.
So it seems to me that this whole trial, if it ends up at trial, is going to end up finger pointing. He did it, no, she did it, no, he did it. And maybe his best defense is confusing the jury on who is ultimately responsible to the point where there's reasonable doubt as to all of them.
Well, the district attorney is going to have some sort of theory of liability, right? She seems to be saying that Baldwin had an independent duty to inspect the weapon, even if Hall said that it was a cold gun, and that they were playing fast and loose because there were live rounds on set. But the question is, is that Baldwin's fault? Is it Gutierrez Reed? And then with respect to his individual actions, did he really pull the trigger? Should he have pointed a gun at another human being, even if he thought it wasn't loaded? And what about cocking the hammer? He did admit to doing that. Was that also criminally negligent?
Finally, what's more problematic, him as the executive producer being charged or him as an actor being charged?
I think him as an actor. I mean, ultimately, him pulling the trigger, cocking it back, not inspecting it. I mean, he's going to have plausible deniability. This isn't a civil case where you're vicariously liable for the actions of your employees or other folks on set. This is a criminal case. The prosecution is going to have to show that he was criminally negligent. So his actions, they're going to be everything.
Okay. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Nima. Good to see you.
Wow, this is something. And his lawyer spoke out and basically said this was a miscarriage already.